we're doing a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. Well, if we have one theme today, I guess it would all fall under irresponsibility. And so, I mean, these are various things, various topics, but how do they relate? Our government has been irresponsible with this vaccine.
Yeah.
And they've been irresponsible in how they've pushed it out on people.
Yeah.
And they've been irresponsible. You know, our local government is being irresponsible with the welfare of our children.
Absolutely.
Our school children. I mean, and how do they change? How are they gonna, they're not gonna change unless there's somebody pushing back and
saying, hey, stop.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
and further on in the show, we'll be talking about fiscal responsibility with Yarmouth. So
it's
all about irresponsibility.
He's actually up next.
Oh, there we go. That's a good lead into then. Our favorite person.
And of course, the other thing is you can homeschool your children. It will help you.
Get you into some homeschooling.
There are a lot of new homeschooling schools coming up, and you can work with them.
Yes.
There's one on Poplar Level Road and one on Taylor Boulevard. So there are a lot of new schools coming, and you can get in on that and save your children.
And these people will help you. They've been doing it for a while. They're very well versed in the area.
Yeah.
So.
And I think really we probably at this point you want to give our phone number.
Okay. 893-32444.
502 area.
893-2444. So that's really important.
And even if you're in another county, please call us because we may have some people we can connect you with in that county.
We may know people who know people.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The trickle down effect for the good. That's a trickle down effect for the good.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's listen here to Yarmouth, and if you're not a Yarmouth fan, then please bear with us. There'll be there's a reason why we want you to hear Yarmouth. He is the chairman of the budget committee in the House of
U.S. House.
U.S. House, and so we've been dealing with this pushing. You hear it in the news. $3.5 trillion, maybe $5 trillion. Well, anyway, here's our local representative, and we'll put him up. Let's see here, and you might not believe what he says.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right.
Sahil Kapoor talked about the problems with doing this through reconciliation, doing it with only Democratic votes, but also you basically set up a scenario in which you raise the debt ceiling by a couple $1 trillion, and then you're back in the same situation 6 months from now, where political games keep getting played. So, because to do it through reconciliation, you have to specify an amount you're raising the debt ceiling by. You can't just say we're going to suspend it for a period of time. There is no point to it. We're the only country in the world that has a debt ceiling that operates this way. We've raised it nearly 100 times since it was put into effect 100 years ago. And it hasn't had any impact on the debt. The debt was $9 trillion when I entered Congress in 2007, and it's now $28 trillion. So it's tripled in that period of time. So this statutory debt ceiling is stupid. We need to get rid of it. I suggested to the speaker, kind of half tongue-in-cheek, that we just raise it to $1 gazillion so we never get there.
That's amazing. I was just saying, when I was growing up, a penny postcard cost a penny. Now it's more like 40 cents, I guess. And the 5-cent stamp would get you a letter, and now it's 55 or something like that. So, and you can get a loaf of 4 loaves of bread for $1. You can't do that anymore. So what they're doing is they're robbing all the taxpayers by, if you've got $100, you're saving it up. Well, guess what? It's only $50 now, because it's not going to buy what it used to. And so they're stealing from us every day by spending more and more money, making more and more money.
Creating inflation.
Yeah. So the dollar is not worth what it used to be, and it's getting worse all the time. And so they're stealing from us. It's a tax. They're
Yeah.
taxing us
Yeah.
That's right, you're right.
by raising the debt ceiling. So,
Well, I mean, just the attitude that he has,
Yeah.
the cavalier attitude.
yeah.
Just raise it to $1 gazillion. I mean,
Oh, and he said what he said, and we'll never get there.
well,
Oh, I'm sure that one.
Yeah.
No,
as
they
long
wouldn't.
as $1 gazillion can't be defined, they'll never get there. But the point is, they'll get there as fast as they can possibly get
You
there.
got it.
That's like greasing the wheels.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
believe you said that. That is totally amazing.
And everybody needs to remember that come election time.
Yeah, you out there in Kentucky that voted
Because
for
we
him.
got
Louisville,
good people running against Yarmouth
That's
now.
right.
So, it's important to
But
remember that.
that's his attitude, and he sits as the chairman of the budget committee. Can you imagine that? I mean, this is the reason why we can't have any kind of fiscal responsibility.
In Jefferson County either.
It's irresponsibility.
That's exactly
There you
it.
go.
That's
Fiscal responsibility versus irresponsibility. I like that.
It's just the fact that he sits on that. I mean, it's like having the fox in
Watching
charge
the
of the
hen
hen
house.
house.
Yeah.
So are you
It
going
really
to
is.
tell about the other one? Are you going to listen? I think we ought to hear that one too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's even
Absolutely.
just as good.
I mean,
that's
there's always so much we can stand.
that's a
but
beauty too.
So much we
This
can
next
say.
one's a
There's only so much we can stand, but we need
Now
to
let's go
hear
to
it.
Democratic Congressman John Yarmouth. He is the chair of the House
All right,
Budget
let's
Committee.
see.
His committee has already passed its initial version of the $3.5 trillion spending bill.
The number itself is meaningless. It's not a question of what we can afford. The federal government can afford anything that it feels it needs to do.
Now that's the point.
That's
You
another
can buy
beauty.
anything you want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you can afford. Just do it whatever you want, just like the government.
Isn't that amazing?
So shouldn't we all just go buy? Let's buy a Mercedes, put it on a credit card, and then tell the credit card.
Put a credit card,
They told me I could buy whatever I want.
Yeah.
It's not that I can afford it, but you know.
The government
terrible.
can afford anything because it's all make-believe money. You
And
know.
the only trouble is the money isn't worth anything when they get through
At
spending it
some
all.
point, we're Venezuela.
Well,
Yeah.
we just looked up the pounds before we came on here. Pounds to U.S. currency.
Yeah.
We're down to between 63 to 65. There's two different rates that I saw there. That's pretty sad. That's
Well,
getting
here's
real-
my problem: is he was taking Senator Manchin to
Yeah.
task,
Joe mentioned.
and Manchin is trying to be real as practical as he can.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he could be a little more practical,
But we'll take it.
but we'll take it.
Take it, right.
But he was criticizing him like he didn't know anything about monetary policy.
That's what Yarmouth said about Joe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I was like, seriously? Here's what you know about monetary policy. Oh, you go to the Fed. The Fed just keeps printing out more and more money.
Right,
The
right.
Treasury does.
And raise the debt ceiling to a gazillion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the government can afford. We just do what the government wants to do.
And
That
it's
is
just
not,
a
like
number.
he knows.
It's just a number, and you keep coming back and coming back. That was what his earlier comments were alluding to. Oh, if we don't get it right now, we can come back in October and November and
and
December,
January.
and eventually we'll wear you down, and we'll find the right people. We'll offer them the right little bribe.
Incentive under the table.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's our government. That's our irresponsible government, and that's
Right,
that's
right.
what we're against, of course. Now we transition to a recent Jefferson County School Board meeting.
And about a half hour before that meeting started, a group of demonstrators gathered outside of the building to rally for SROs in JCPS schools. The group said it wanted to pray for the safety of students, staff, and teachers in the district schools before the meeting. Several demonstrators plan to speak at that board meeting tonight. Organizers believe it's well past time to restore a police presence in schools to protect and develop positive interactions with students.
We all know that the worst kind of people gather to pray for students and their safety.
Well, Shay, 33 people were set to speak inside Central High during public comment. School board only got through 6. The 7th, a parent talking about the Test to Stay program. The crowd had other concerns on their minds.
Plan for Test to Stay in lieu of quarantining for close contact.
JCPS's superintendent had a plan for Tuesday's board meeting.
SRO on every campus is not the solution.
It quickly changed as all the talk circled around 2 very different views on how to keep students safe.
When someone, if they were to show up to a school with a gun, those people would have to commute to the school to deal with the emergency and then just talk aggressively because they're not armed.
The debate of bringing back school resource officers ignited emotion.
We'll recess for the next 5 minutes.
Shouting followed at Central High's auditorium. Some folks left right then. Everyone else soon escorted out as board members abruptly ended the meeting early.
You know, they had different opinions and different things to say.
But outside, to them, public comment wasn't over.
I almost can understand where Chief Shields is coming from, but emphasis on almost, because she is not a student, she is not a student of color, and she cannot speak for us.
The students themselves had things to say.
I want to be in 3rd period and not have to worry about getting to 4th alive.
Starting with Emily Pabon, a senior at Atherton High.
And the root of the problem isn't in the school building.
Others like Josiah Finley, also at Atherton.
Don't add more weapons to the building.
Following her lead.
It was important to kind of make that imprint.
Ultimately, doors shut and people went home without any further response by the school board. No decisions made, no votes tallied, simply frustration boiling over.
My goal was to be heard.
And a community fed up with the status quo.
Sarah Sidery shows us how a
JCPS students protest outside of tonight's school board meeting, calling on the district to keep SROs out of their schools.
WDRB's Sarah Sidery shows us how a disruption during tonight's meeting escalated into the crowd actually being kicked out and the meeting called off.
I'm here to ask you not to allow the test and stay. I'm here to ask you not to allow test and stay in our school. My son...
We'll recess for the next 5 minutes. That's the end of speakers. We are recessed for 5 minutes.
Yelling in the crowd stops a JCPS board meeting.
The board meeting was going on as usual until a Caucasian woman got up. She came and sat in front of us, and she turned around and
this is just one of many inaccuracies reported as fact by the media.
But she threatened one of the guys and I guess the people that were sitting right there in that vicinity.
JCPS teacher Tyra Walker was sitting nearby.
One of the black officers came over, tried or called himself de-escalating the issue, but he just escalated it. He said she's gonna stay.
2 groups were there to address the board about SROs, some for.
It is time to restore SROs in our schools.
Others against.
These are the things that I will see in a school with SROs in our building because they're not trained to de-escalate.
After LMPD called on JCPS to put police back in schools in light of the bus stop shooting.
When all of the officers came and stood around us, these are people that have been in the movement for Breonna Taylor for over a year. So standing around them escalated the issue because they already have some PTSD.
Police eventually told everyone to leave the meeting.
We need everybody to make an exit outside.
That's when students started sharing their stories outside.
If I can die outside of school because of guns, what makes you think I want to be around guns inside of school?
Hey! What's the point of school? What's the point of school if they get killed on the way?
Keep talking. Keep talking. He don't matter. You keep talking. We are kids, not criminals.
Students wanted to talk to the board, but couldn't because the meeting was cut short.
If I wasn't going to be heard in the school board meeting, I wanted to be heard here. It made me feel good. It made me feel united. It made me feel like my voice mattered.
Sarah Sidery, WDRB News.
But I got 2 things to ask you, Nisha. I mean, you can piggyback and go where you went, as we talked earlier or whatever. But one of them, there's two as I see it, there's maybe at least two groups of parents. There's the parents that aren't going to be necessarily taking their child out of school. They're going to have some reason for not doing it. Whether it's maybe they're a one-parent family or whatever that is. But my first question for all those parents who are still going to try to keep their kids in public schools, where is the concern? Where is the, why don't they take their child out of school for 1 day or 2 days worth of protest to try to shake up the public school system? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, it seems like to me, well, they tried, but I don't think they had a whole lot of success. I mean,
in the school year, I think they tried it.
That's where the money is. If the kids are in school, they get money for those kids being in school. I mean, I'm with you. I'm looking at the parents. And I don't see why they're. I'm just.
Well, one of the biggest problems is that the reason why so many of those parents are dependent on the public schools is many of them are unwed with children.
Yep.
And that's the terminology that I use, unwed with children.
That's the way it should be, but it's not done anymore.
Yeah. They're unwed. They want to say, they want to use single. They want to use single, and I don't use the word single with children, because see, single mean when I was single and had no children, I was single. Okay, I had no responsibility but to myself. You can't appoint single with children and say you're still single, because see, that's what's wrong with our parents today.
Right.
They still chasing that single life. Okay, you're no longer single when you have children. You are unwed with children, okay? And
even if you're divorced, like I got divorced,
you are unwed,
so I'm still unwed, but I did have my children in wedlock.
Right.
So what would I be called?
You are divorced with children.
Divorced with children. So
okay.
I should have said that.
Yeah, you are divorced with children. You're not single with children because your children.
That's an interesting. I like that.
And it's the reason why it's so important to speak in that tone, in that manner, because what I'm trying to get parents understand is that the moment that you have children, your children becomes your responsibility.
Yes.
Not your single life.
Exactly.
Okay, not that.
So what you're saying, to use an analogy, would be, it's like when you have children, it's like I have a vehicle and I have a hitch and I'm pulling a trailer, and that trailer is my children, and wherever I go, my children are going with me,
That's right.
and I'm responsible
and
for
you're
them.
responsible for them.
Yes.
Exactly. So you can't put I'm single, okay, when you got children. No, you're not. You are unwed with children.
Or divorced or widowed.
Right. Well, widow.
Good
Okay.
point. Very good point. I like that.
You must put your children ahead of your value. If you're not married, okay, and there's where I was leading to you, why parents are not pulling these kids out. They can't pull them out because they ain't got nobody else at home
to watch them.
They watch them and do the things they need to do. So the school system becomes I'm gonna keep it 100. It becomes the babysitting. They putting the kids in the school to babysit. Okay, so they want the school to do a good job so they can go continue doing what they're doing. It's the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
If you was a parent that was concerned about your children, then you will make sure, first of all, and let's just keep this thing all the way 100. Okay. You wouldn't have had the children, okay, put yourself in this predicament and everything. You would have made sure that you was in a married relationship, made sure your children are doing the things that they're doing, so you'll be able to raise your children in the right environment, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what
I really like that.
Yeah, and the problem is that we're fighting up against a system that only want to continue creating what you were saying, zombies to the system. Zombies to the system. And it's going to require people of faith to show them a different way.
Now, the second group of parents obviously is the one that can pull their and will pull their kids
and
out.
they will pull their kids out and do the things they do. And if you notice that, majority,
phone number.
Oh, sure.
And majority of those people are the ones usually are married with stability
You're right.
and with home. Am I right? I'm not trying to make it ugly, but I'm just saying the ones who could pull the ones who could pull their children out, create homeschooling, co-op, and everything are usually married homeowners, strong stability, because faith. They have the means. The ones that you see fighting for government funding, public schooling, unmarried, broken marriages, divorce, living in apartments, not home ownership. So the school system is nothing more than a babysitting for them to continue doing what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Let me just give this phone number. If you feel that you're not happy with what's going on in the public schools as demonstrated by these videos and what you said, you call this number 893-2444. And it's area code 502. So 502-893-2444. And we'll try to help you find.
We'll connect you with people who are doing this now.
Yeah.
They have homeschools,
and help
they have
you
co-ops.
get your child into a better school.
If your children don't see you standing in the gap
of
for
the
them,
hard times of
for the hard times that they need you, they will not do that for themselves, and they won't do that for their children, and they won't do that in life.
I can attest to that.
Your parents, parents got to show their children that they're willing to stand in the gap in education, schools, and everything the way you need to do it.
I like that.
Say that number again and everything so we can tell people how to.
893-2444. It's area code 502-893-2444. That's the number to call to get help with your children and get them a good education. Okay, thanks for watching. We want to thank Michorn Daniels and John Brewer and Cindy Marlowe, and tune in again next week for the rest of the news.